Okay, my name is Miranda Best. I am the outreach coordinator for the Hinckley Institute of Politics at the University of Utah. And today we're going to talk about internships and how you can get involved. So, real quickly, if you wouldn't mind in the chat, please tell me what you are currently planning on studying. If you have a declared major, if you are undecided, that way I know how to gear the information for you. History, secondary education teaching, awesome. Mechanical engineering. Pre-med, but undeclared. Awesome. Okay, so we have a variety of majors in here. This is great. So we at the Hinckley Institute help students of all majors find internships in Utah, Washington, D.C., and globally. We also help students from all ranges of academic levels, so anywhere from freshmen to graduate students. So as incoming students to the U, I encourage you to get involved as soon as you can. You don't need to wait until your junior or senior year to do an internship. This is sort of the expectations of internships. I think a lot of students think they have to wait until they are later on in their college career, but we actually encourage you to get started sooner. That way you have more opportunities open to you throughout the rest of your college career. So a little bit about me and my involvement in the Hinckley Institute. I have been working at the U with the Hinckley for almost 3 years in this role. And so I really get excited about the work I do because I get to help students figure out what internships are good for them, how they can fit it into their academic schedules, and really take advantage of the resources that the Hinckley has to offer. The reason why I get so excited about this is because my student experience was not as involved in the Hinckley as I wish it would have been. So I graduated just over 3 years ago from the U in international studies and Latin American studies. And I was really involved in campus in other places, other offices, but I didn't ever get involved in the Hinckley. I remember learning about the Hinckley Institute as a sophomore, thinking it was just politics, and at the time I had zero interest in politics, so I didn't get involved. I didn't really think the Hinckley was my place on campus, and so I just went along my merry way and did other things. Still had a great college experience, but I got to my last semester as I was about to graduate and realized I hadn't done an internship and I didn't have a job lined up. And I started to panic. What am I going to do? I'm about to graduate and I don't have a job. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was talking to a friend who actually worked at the Hinckley Institute at the time, and she was like, come talk to me. Let's figure something out so you can get an internship before you graduate. So I went, and we ended up getting me into an internship that was an amazing fit for me. I ended up deferring graduation by a semester so that I could take advantage of this opportunity. So heads up now, as incoming freshmen, don't do that. Don't wait till your very last semester to do an internship. Get started sooner. Learn from my mistake. But luckily I was able to defer my graduation and get involved in this amazing internship. So long story short, what this looked like was I got to go to Cuba for 2 months in behalf of the Benyon Center on campus and also as a Hinckley intern. So the Benyon Center has a program, which you can look into later, that does a semester-long course focused on the complexity and history of Cuba, and then gets to go to Cuba for a week. And so I had been in this class the year before. I knew a lot about the Benyon Center because I was involved in there while I was a student. And so I got to go and be a representative of both the Benyon Center and the Hinckley Institute and help them restructure this program that they had organized. It was more expensive and it wasn't really geared towards the goals that they wanted the program to be. And so they needed someone to go to the country and meet with different organizations and help this program be more substantive and be more geared towards their goals of community engagement. So that's what I got to do. I was by myself in Havana, meeting with community organizations and talking to different people and learning about what life was like there. and restructuring this program so not only was it more affordable for the students to participate in, but also so that it was really geared towards learning what the experience of living, like of what Cuba is like, getting a taste of it and getting engaged through some service opportunities as well. So this opportunity was incredible for me because it allowed me to put into practice what I had learned as a student through my Latin American and international studies majors. I speak Spanish. I had traveled to Cuba before, and so it's just a perfect mesh for me to figure out what it was like to really work in that professional realm based on what I had studied. I learned a lot about myself, what my weaknesses were, what my strengths were, what I did and did not like about this type of work. And it really gave me a professional edge and helped me to set myself apart. And ultimately, my internship helped me then get the job that I currently have at the Hinckley Institute. So while I'm very grateful for that internship experience that I had, I wish I would have understood what the Hinckley had to offer sooner so that I could have taken advantage of these opportunities and done more internships while I was a student. So now that we're talking about that, I want you to figure out how you are going to do an internship sooner than later. So let's figure out what that looks like for you all. And we're going to start with my presentation. If I can get this going. Okay, so the Hinckley Institute has been around for 55 years. This is our 55th anniversary this year. And we were founded by Robert H. Hinckley, whose idea was to get students engaged in their communities, to learn about the political processes of the state of their community, and have transformative internship experiences that would help them develop leadership skills. So while we were founded on the basis of politics and getting students involved in politics, that is a large part of what we do, but we have since then expanded our internships to be applicable to students of all majors. So engineering, healthcare, education, humanities, wherever you are on campus, we have something for you. So why is it important to do an internship? Frequently, we see the media portray interns with this negative connotation or this terrible experience that interns are shoved in a corner, stapling papers and getting people's coffee, right? And we want to make sure that the internships we set up our students with are not like that. So something I forgot to mention is the Hinckley Institute acts as a liaison to connect you with internships in Utah, DC, and abroad. So rather than you trying to go find an internship on your own, students come to the Hinckley Institute and apply to be a part of our program, and then we connect you with our hundreds of partnerships that we have. And so it's a lot easier for students to find an internship through us than it is on their own. So why do we want to intern? We want to get that real world experience. We make sure that you're not getting coffee for people, but rather you're working on real projects with everyone else in the office that you're interning with, that you're getting substantive experiences and work that will allow you to develop professional skills and experiences and to help you learn and to push yourself and grow. Additionally, we want you to build professional networks. The way the world works these days, it's who you know. You can have all the experience, all the knowledge, but if you don't have a connection, it's less likely that you'll get into the jobs or the future internships or the programs that you want to get if you don't have a network. So it's so important for you, whether it's through an internship or another experience as a student, that you're building those relationships that you can depend on in the future. We always want to add more things onto our resume, right, and make ourselves look more impressive. So that's always good. And then you get to earn course credits, which is really cool. So this is something I wish I would have known when I was a student. I would have done more internships instead of taking other classes. So you're already engaged in so many courses, doing a lot of homework, projects, tests, and studying. So why not get off campus or off the computer, right, from online classes and go work? Go work and experience something for a semester with an organization and learn something that you wouldn't normally get from a textbook or from a lecture, and get the course credit that you would normally get from another class, which is so cool. So you work with your advisors to figure out where those courses fit into your graduation track, but ultimately you're getting the same credit you would if you were just taking another class on campus. And then we're helping students learn about civic engagement. How is it that you can use your academic interests to contribute to your community? right? Wherever your interests are, if it's in the STEM field, you can look at things like environmental issues, poor air quality, funding for research. If you're interested in foreign affairs, international studies, you can be looking at economic trade or immigration policies, things like that. Those are hot topics right now. If you're a business major, looking at the economy or how small businesses are being impacted and how those tie into corporate companies, things like that, right? So all of these issues that we're seeing in our community tie back to the majors that students have in the university. And then ultimately looking at what are your goals after you graduate? Do you want to get into a graduate program or medical school? Are you interested in working straight away, or are you looking at the Peace Corps? Whatever your goals are after you graduate, what are you doing to help yourself get there? And an internship is a really great way to help you succeed after you graduate and help yourself stand out as a candidate for any of those options. So, as I mentioned, the Hinckley Institute has partnerships with host offices here in Utah, Washington, D.C., and abroad. So our local internships are a really great way for students to get started in our programs or to get started in the internship experience. We'll frequently have students come to us and say, I've never worked, or my only work experience is at a restaurant or babysitting, or I just did sports in high school, I never did anything else, right? So we can work with students of all work levels or lack of work levels, right? Our local host offices are so great at serving as mentors for our interns and helping them to learn the skills that they need to be successful interns at that moment, but also how to take those skills into the rest of their undergraduate student career as well as into their professional careers. Our local internships are really great because they're flexible with our school schedules. So you can still take 9 or 12 credits of courses on campus and then do 3 to 6 more credits of your internship. If you work another job, things like that. They are really flexible with your schedule. And then again, this is allowing you to get a foot in the door with an organization and get some work experience, even if you haven't had much yet. Most of our local internships pay. In the case that they do not pay, you do qualify for scholarships through our office that can go towards tuition. So there's that really good benefit. Then we have our legislative internship. So this is only offered spring semester because that is when Utah's legislative session is held. So through January through March. It's a really short internship. It's about 6 weeks. We give you an intense training before the legislative session starts to help you learn about policy and how it works in Utah and who different legislators are in the state, things like that. So we give you this crash course to help you be successful. You don't have to be a political science intern or major to do this internship. We have students come from all backgrounds and all interests to participate in this internship because the legislators themselves also come from a variety of backgrounds. They are healthcare workers, they're educators, they are public service workers, right? They come from a variety of backgrounds, so let's get interns to also come from a variety of backgrounds as well. We typically reserve this internship for juniors and seniors because it is very intense. We prefer that you have had previous internship or other work experience because it's short, it's 45 days, but sometimes you're working over 8 hours every day, 10, 12 hours, it's intense. And so we wanna make sure that the students who are participating in this internship are ready for that intense level of work. The great thing about this is that interns get paid just under $2,800 for their participation in this internship. So it's really awesome. You're basically getting front row tickets to seeing how Utah policy is made, which is really cool. And again, whether you like it or not, policy affects you, and so it's important to learn about it and how it impacts you just as a member of our community, but also how it impacts your academics. So this is a really great way to learn. Then we have our national internship program, which I wish I would have known about when I was a student. I always wanted to go to DC. Everything I looked at online was way too expensive, or it just was impossible to get in. And I didn't know what the Hinckley Institute had to offer. So we make it affordable and accessible for students to spend a semester in Washington, DC. So first of all, Washington, DC is very expensive. and it's hard to find housing for just a semester. And so we provide housing for our students. It's fully furnished, utilities are included, and we pay for half of the rent. So students only pay $450 a month for their rent, which is amazing. That's cheaper than what most people pay in Salt Lake. So to get to pay that price in DC is incredible. On top of that, if your host office does not pay you, we will provide you with a stipend that covers your housing expenses and then provides you with additional funding to cover costs like transportation, food, things like that. So just right there, we're already making it really affordable to be in Washington, D.C. So our partnerships are with a variety of organizations, whether it's political or not. So nonprofits and advocacy groups, or working in international affairs, healthcare organizations, you name it, we've got a lot of connections in Washington, D.C. And so you're working full time for the semester and really getting that experience of being in the nation's capital. You're living with a bunch of other interns and just having an amazing experience. Then we have our global internship program. So this is a really great way to go abroad for a semester at a very affordable cost. So our global interns qualify for discounted tuition and numerous scholarships. So global interns only pay $45 per credit for tuition. So what that looks like is 12 credits of tuition on campus would typically be around $4,000 for a semester. Whereas if you were to do 12 credits through a global internship for a semester, your tuition would be less than $600. So that right there is a huge money saver. On top of that, our interns qualify for scholarships through the Hinckley, through Learning Abroad, Office of Global Engagement, the Gilman Scholarship, right? So many opportunities to get funding. When I went to Cuba, I got $4,000 through 3 different scholarships, and it covered all of my costs, which was amazing. So I didn't make money necessarily on my internship, but I had enough scholarships to cover all of my expenses. So a couple major questions that we get from students about what's the difference between a global internship and a study abroad, or doing internships through the Hinckley versus through Learning Abroad office. So first off, a study abroad is going and taking classes at a university. You're typically learning a language. You might be living with a host family, and your program takes care of a lot of your needs while you're studying, which is great. I did a study abroad and it was a wonderful experience, but it was very different than my internship. Whereas an internship, you're not taking classes. You are working 30 to 40 hours a week for an organization. You're most likely living on your own, sometimes with other interns, and you're taking care of all of your basic needs, right? So very different experiences. The difference between doing an internship with the Hinckley versus Learning Abroad is the Office of Learning Abroad finds their internships through third-party organizations. So students are paying an additional fee for these third-party organizations, but in return, they're getting an organization that helps them with their housing, helps with transportation costs, places them in their internship, things like that. Whereas with the Hinckley Institute, you're working directly with us to get placed with one of our partners. But students are typically responsible for finding their own housing, getting their own transportation to and from the airport, things like that. So there are handoffs with both of those programs based on the type of experience you're looking for. Okay, so then we have our Set Up Your Own Internship. So as I mentioned, the Hinckley Institute has hundreds of partnerships, but sometimes students have their own connections. So whether it's a neighbor or a family friend, maybe their professor can recommend them to a local nonprofit or a startup company, whatever it is. Students can set up their own internships, but still come to the Hinckley Institute and get course credit and apply for funding. So you still get to take advantage of the resources that we offer. Additionally, if you are a student who is looking to gain residency, you can set up an internship outside of Utah, so in a home state or elsewhere, for the summer semester. And because you are enrolled in university credit through the Hinckley Institute, you're participating in university programming, which allows you to qualify for residency, even if you are not physically in the state of Utah. So, but you have to fulfill some requirements. So if that is something you're interested in, come talk to us so we can make sure we get that going for you. So we have a couple of requirements in order to participate in our program, and then I'll talk about the application process. So we have a 3.0 GPA requirement, and we ask that you are in good standing with the university. So essentially what that means is that you don't have issues with the dean's office, that you don't have any holds on your accounts, things like that. So the 3.0 GPA requirement is more of a hard requirement for our DC and our global programs, because we want you to be more competitive, because you are competing against students outside of the state of Utah. And the 3.0 GPA is a little bit of a softer requirement for our local programs. In the case that you have something under a 3.0 GPA, we can be flexible. We understand that life happens. You may get sick or have a family emergency, and so your grades have been impacted. Frequently, students are working full-time in order to put themselves through school, so their grades suffer a little bit. So it's a more of a holistic application. We aren't focused solely on your GPA, but we do want to see that you are making your academics an importance and a high priority in your lives. So you will want to be prepared 1 or 2 semesters ahead of time to submit your application. So for example, we are already accepting applications for spring 2021 internships for local and DC, and then our global internships are 2 semesters ahead of time. So we're already taking applications for summer 2021 global internships, and those will be due in the fall. So once you've submitted your application, you want to go onto our website and research our host offices that we have. So you'll see on this page right here, in our medical and health area, you'll see local, national, and global, and the host offices that pertain to that program in the medical health realm. So you'll want to pick a few offices that interest you most, and then you'll do an interview with one of our program managers at the Hinckley Institute, and you'll talk about these programs you're interested in. Once you are accepted into our cohort, we will then connect you with our contacts at these host offices to do another round of interviews, which will then determine your placement for your internship. So, and then we get you going through an orientation process and get you on your way with your interns. So I have a few more minutes that I want to quickly go through some of our other programs before I show you how to navigate our website. So as I mentioned earlier, the Hinckley Institute is huge on civic engagement. And so we actually house the Andrew Goodman Foundation program at the University of Utah. And so the AGF program is essentially there to help students get involved in civic engagement and voting. And so we have our AGF ambassadors who will have different efforts around campus throughout the academic year to help students, faculty, and staff get registered to vote. So hopefully if we see you on campus this fall, you'll see some of these students around campus helping students to register to vote and get engaged and ready to go in November for elections. Then we have forums every semester. So typically these are held in our space, and we have pizza to feed students and staff when they come listen to these forums. Moving forward this year, they're going to be a little bit different. Most of them will be held virtually, so it'll be a little bit of a different experience, but hopefully we'll get back to our normal forum set. But we bring in a variety of speakers from local, national, and global settings to talk about the work that they're doing, or the political, economic, or social issues that they care about and are involved in. So these are really great ways to learn about what's going on in the community and to listen to the people who are right there involved in it. And then we have a variety of classes for students who are interested in these areas. So our Forum Series class is really great for students who want to hone in on their professional writing skills. This class fulfills the upper division CW writing requirement that everyone needs in order to graduate. So how this class works is you attend 10 forums throughout the duration of the semester. You write short papers on each of the forums that you attend, and you go to class once a week. And so this allows you to learn about what's going on in the community, but also helps you to hone in on brief, concise professional writing rather than writing lengthy research papers. So this class is offered fall and spring semester. Then we have our campaign management course. This is offered every other fall semester in correlation with elections. So students will do a mini internship on a local campaign, and they go to class once a week to discuss what's happening in their campaigns and how that's impacting their communities. Then we have our Capital Encounter course. This is offered every spring semester, and it allows students to have the DC experience without spending an entire semester there. So students work in small groups within their class to develop a policy proposal of their choice, and then they get to go to Washington, DC for a week at the end of the semester, and they get to interact with lobbyists and legislators and other important people at the Capitol to discuss their policy proposals and the things that they want to see changed, whether it's a local proposal or a national proposal. And then they get feedback from the legislators and lobbyists to talk about what they could do to improve and how they can then take these policy proposals and make change back home, which is really cool. So again, you're getting that firsthand experience of policy change in the nation's capital. And then we have our Ambassador John Price Think Tank course, which is offered every fall and spring semester with the Ambassador John Price, who served in Africa for a few years. And so he talks about international and foreign affairs, specifically regarding the continent of Africa. So if you're interested in international affairs, this is a really great course to take. Then lastly, we have our Hip Talks speech contest every spring semester, which is so fun. So students get 2 minutes to speak about whatever topic they want. And then the judges choose a $5,000 grand prize winner. And then there are 4 runners-up who get $1,000. So it is so cool to hear students speak about whatever topic they want and to see them practice their public speaking skills with the chance to win a big scholarship, which is so cool. So here is our contact information. So you can look at our website or our social media. Our Instagram is really cool to follow. We post pictures and stories about interns and the work that they're doing, and it's awesome to read. And then you can email me for an appointment if you would like. Right now I'm doing virtual appointments. Hopefully in the near future we'll be able to be back in person for those in appointments on campus. Otherwise, we can schedule those Zoom meetings and I can help you figure out the best timing for you to do an internship and what sorts of places would be of interest to you. So before we end, I just want to show you how you can navigate our website and find internships that would be applicable to you. So if you come to our internship or our homepage, you can then go to our internships page, and then you can either search programs by location, or you can come to this internships by major tab. Now we don't have all 86 majors on this paper or on this page, so we have them grouped more by discipline, but you can come through and search. So I know there are a few of you who are engineering, so you could come here and see all of our partnerships in Utah, Washington, DC, and abroad. And when you click on these links, it just takes you to their website so you can learn more about the type of work that they do. Say you are interested in international affairs, so you can come to this page right here and see all of our local, national, and global programs. And there are significantly more in this area than there are in engineering, but we're working on that with the engineering and some of our more STEM focused areas. So this is a really great way to just browse and see what types of places you could work with and learn about and connect that to your academic studies. So are there any questions that I can answer for you before we end today? You can either unmute yourself and speak out, or you can put it in the chat. No? Okay, that's all right. Thank you so much for coming. I know that was a lot of information in 30 minutes. So if you have further questions or if you want to speak with me personally, feel free to send me an email. I will put it in the chat, and then you can send me an email and I'll help you however else I can. Otherwise, thank you for your time and welcome to the U.